G'day viewers, my name is Michael and welcome back to Single Racer. And now today's video is going to be mainly for beginner or intermediate sim racers that are trying to improve, and that's because I stumbled on two totally separate individual things last week, but strangely they were both connected to each other, and it's something that reinforced something that I'd always believed in. And that is that you just do not need good gear to be a good sim racer. And to me the template of that is the fact that, as far as I know, for even up to this year, the current legend, or at least one of the legends of sim racing in my eyes, Michi Hoyer, was using a Logitech G29 wheel right up to last year. And so what I want to do in this video, for those of you that are beginners or intermediate drivers, is show you, or at least try and prove, that you do not need good gear, because quite frankly I'm not using very good gear, but you can still be very, very fast. And so let me say up front, for those of you that are seasoned or alien drivers like the brilliant Mystex24, who breaks personal or world records in Project Cars 2 over and over, this video probably has no benefit for you other than maybe if you've never tried this car and track combination. So I'm driving the V8 Supercars mod, and I'll have a link to that in the description, but I'm driving it on Road America, and although they're fantastic for Bathurst, they are just as good for this track if you've never driven on this track with these cars. And that's because I saw a brilliant video by Ferrari Man 601, who had never actually driven the track before, and that spurred me on to say, well, I'll take the V8 Supercars, these Australian cars, out onto the track. And what I want to do for the beginner or intermediate drivers is talk about how it might be better just to back off slightly, and I'll show you, hopefully in a visual sense, how learning your craft with the gear you have, or the gear you can afford, is so much more important. And so if you can bear with me, let me tell you the story of these two individual things that happened last week, and yet how they were so connected to each other. And so the first part of the story is because I came across a channel which really surprised me that I'd never seen it before. Partly because it appears to be an Australian channel, or at least he's got an Australian voice, and also because the channel has 34,000 subscribers, and I'm wondering why I'd never noticed it, or I hadn't come across it before. Now the channel is called Boosted Media, but it's this particular video here that piqued my interest, called 10 Things I Wish I Knew When I First Started Sim Racing. Now, I want to stress very strongly, I do not disagree with anything this person says. In fact, I agree wholeheartedly with everything he says. And I won't steal his thunder in talking about any parts of the video. I'll have a link to the video directly in the description. But I just want to cover three very quick things that he says. One of them is talking about button boxes, or having a lot of dial switches, buttons to access different functions of the car and features within a sim racing game. The second is having a solid structure, as in a cockpit, something solid that doesn't shake when you're driving. And the third is kind of a general thing about having good, strong force feedback, or strong reaction in your pedals, you know, a hard brake and a softer accelerator, or good clutch, or, you know, adapting all these tweaks that you can do to your current pedals to make them better. And now this leads me to the fact that what I'm going to suggest is a bit controversial, and if you feel like offering your opinion underneath the video, go right ahead, but I'm suggesting that this can often be a psychological crutch that makes you think that by getting this gear you will be better. And to me, I want to show in a physical sense, or at least prove from my point of view, that you don't need these things to be fast. Now, you probably do need these things to be an alien, which I'm not, but you don't need these things to be fast. And this leads me on to the perfect second part of the story, where I've often told my subscribers that I get together with my brother Andrew once a month. We alternate his place, my place, to just have a day of sim racing and get together and catch up and things like that. And this month it was at his place on the Saturday, so I saw the boosted media video on the Monday and then went to his place on the Saturday, and I was ecstatic to find out that he had bought a Fanatic DD wheel. Now it's the slightly lower end one, is in the Podium 1 as opposed to the Podium 2, but it's still an absolutely awesome wheel. And although this is going to sound contradictory, I felt that it was so good. Now, I've never experienced this before, but I felt it was so good that I could immediately knock off 3 to 5 seconds off any of my personal bests in any car on any track that I'd driven and set a time before. So let me say, for those people that are thinking about or about to purchase a DD wheel and humming and hawing, the road feel and the vibrations, especially what everyone keeps talking about, is the amount of data, as in feedback and good force feedback, that the wheel gives you is as good as everyone says it is. You know, the amount of information I could get from the road instantly made me faster. Now, again, this sounds like a contradiction, because my brother bought the DD Podium 1 wheel. He has a solid, rock solid cockpit. He has a good brake and clutch and or pedal set from Fanatic as well, and an excellent wheel from Fanatic. So why am I saying all this when I'm trying to prove that all this gear doesn't matter? Well, I felt that I could be faster because I had the fundamentals to begin with. And so, to try and give an example to back up my argument, before my brother got the DD wheel, he still had a great Fanatic wheel. It just wasn't the DD type, the 30 Newton meters of power type wheel, but it was still good. And his personal enjoyment comes from hot lapping and breaking records on RSR, and he's getting very, very good at it. He's as good in a different way in ability than I am, but he was kind of stunned when I came over and he said, oh, you know, I've just been racing this particular car and track, have a go. And within 3 laps, I broke his record. And like he literally was kind of like the jaw on the ground. And I said to him that was purely because, as a sim racing channel, I'm lucky enough to race all the time, and it's you know, we talk about being in the zone. So for beginner and intermediate drivers, the only thing that's going to make you better is if you're lucky enough to race consistently. And all those channels that do this as their job on YouTube or Twitch, or just are lucky enough to race constantly, understand how much or how quickly you can get in the zone, as opposed to someone that has 2 or 3 weeks from one go on the racetrack to the next, and, you know, struggle to get up to speed and have to learn the track again and all that. So being in the zone constantly, to me, is much, much better than having good gear, because it means that when you get the good gear, suddenly, bam, you're instantly much faster. And so, to wrap up that side of it, make no mistake, this gear will make you better if you're lucky enough to be able to afford it. But what I'm saying is, it'll make you better if, and especially if you have the fundamentals of good sim racing to begin with. That's what will make you those incremental jumps when you go to this gear, but you don't need this gear to actually make you fast. And I'll try and prove that and just show you a video using those three things. So the three things were, you know, lots of buttons and all that kind of stuff, the stable cockpit, and say good strong force feedback, and a good pedal set base, you know, with lots of those sort of tweaks with stronger springs and all that kind of stuff. They all help, but they don't make you fast necessarily. Okay, so the first thing is a stable platform. So here is my chair on wheels, but not only my chair, but my desk is on wheels. So it's fairly unstable. So this is the Logitech Driving Force GT, probably the earliest force feedback wheel other than maybe a Mad Catz, and it only puts out, so the DD wheels put out 30 Newton meters. This is supposed to have 2. And there is the original pedals that should have been dusted before I did this video. But as you can see, I'm just using very basic gear, but I can do quite decent hot laps. And for Humble George, if he's still watching, there's my my Ultic Lansings, speakers, the best PC speakers I've ever heard. And there's the PC96 coffee coaster for any of you that remember those great CDs you used to get on the computer magazines, on the front of the computer magazines, and that's going back a long, long way. And to sum up, I did want to say that the Logitech Driving Force GT, being such an early wheel, I must admit, does have a lot of buttons, which really does help as far as setting all those settings to be, you know, like the handbrake and all that kind of thing. It is an advantage having more buttons than usual. A lot of the early wheels only had 6, but as you can see, when you compare it to a DD wheel putting out 30 Newton meters, to just have 2 Newton meters, but probably at its peak, you know, more like 1 point something at any given time, yet it still gives me enough feedback if the feedback is set correctly within the game. The pedals are good enough to give me a good sense of feeling, and the chair moves, yeah, but so what? You know, it's all down to the practice that you do. So now what I want to do is do an example with the V8 supercars on Road America, where I'm suggesting that if you're struggling to get up to speed, like I always say, maybe ease off, because I talk about my style as slow in, fast out, and I want to give you another visual example against the ghost car and reinforce that point in a similar way to what a Ferrari Man 601 did when he was learning the Road America track. Now, he didn't go out blazing. He came into the corners going faster and faster. And by the way, I stir him all the time, but I do consider Ferrari Man 601 an alien driver with alien abilities. And but it was interesting to watch that he still took that cautious approach and went faster and faster as he got to learn the track. So what I want to use here for any beginners or intermediate drivers is show you against the ghost car how actually backing off and going in slower so that your car is stable. The crucial thing is that you're not going in too hard. And what I'm going to do is one hot lap where I overdrive, and you know, it's pretty rough because it's hard to actually overdrive when you're so used to driving at a reasonable pace. And then how going in slower can balance the car, and maybe that's what you should be practicing to get used to the track first, and then you push the limits. So let me try to prove that now in this double hot lap video. Okay folks, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to deliberately overdrive on the first lap against the ghost car and show you how pushing too hard into the corner, or commonly known as understeering, can actually slow you down. It doesn't make you faster trying to drive too hard. Now, I did an advanced driving course in my 20s, and this is exactly how I drove. I drove in the center of the road. I didn't know what apexes were at the time, and I just drove simply too hard and ruined my front left tire after doing that, and I learned a lot from it. So here I am in the center, and see, I'm coming in too hard and trying to be too fast and sliding or forcing the car out wide. And that just simply unsettles the car. So I'm hoping you can see the ghost car there, and I'm just pushing too hard constantly. And if you ever drive and you feel like this is happening to you, where the car weight, the car's side momentum constantly is pushing you out, I'll show you how backing off doesn't make you slower necessarily. So here I'm pushing too hard and I'm struggling to keep the car stable. I think what it is, it's the combination of when you're trying to drive too fast, like here, and then you're struggling to keep the car balanced. And what happens is it's very fast coming into the corner, and this is the way my brother drives, but he knows how to come out of the corner as well. And here, see, especially I'm trying too hard. Now I'm overdriving, like as in driving a bit silly, and I actually lose it here. So here I'm pushing to go faster through the curb, see, and the weight of the car is constantly pushing me out. So I'm not achieving anything by going or trying to go as fast as I am. It just doesn't work. And here I simply go too hard, slide off, so and I don't even make the end of the lap. So if this has ever happened to you, consider braking maybe like one car length earlier than you might do. See, I can't even continue. I've got a broken shocker there, or whatever it's called. And so now let's do it by backing off, and you'll see how much I catch or pass the ghost car. Now my ghost car is a good time, so I don't necessarily take off and beat the ghost car, you know, fly away from it, but it's just a great visual representation of how if you back off just a little bit, and I'm just talking one car length braking early, with the idea of stabilizing the car on all four wheels, how it can still be quick. So here I'm braking early, but look how much I turn into the corner. Much better. See, and the car's balanced and I get the flow out of the corner much better. So same thing here, I brake a bit earlier, let the car turn in. Now that wasn't too good, but the car is much more stable, and the net result is that I can get on the accelerator not only early, but just once. I think you lose a lot of time when you get on the accelerator and realise you have to back it off a bit. You back it off and then put it on again. So here, backing off, and now when I set the corner, the car's balanced and I can get on the accelerator once, and you can see by the side kick how much I'm up. Now, like I said, I don't beat the ghost car because it is already a good time, but you can see here how I'm hoping by the visual you can see how much more stable the car is. Again, braking early, let the car turn in naturally, and now accelerate. Now here, rather than push and understeer push, I accelerate, ease off till the nose turns, accelerate, ease off till the nose turns, and just keep doing this. And this is where practicing on that 3/4 throttle gets you much better results than just buying a brand new wheel if you don't actually have the skill set behind you. And that to me is more important than the gear you necessarily own. And when you get that skill, see, backing off again and letting the car turn in beautifully, and it's so much more stable. And then what happens is when I go to my brother and he goes, oh look, a DD wheel, do you want to have a go? I have the skill set to notice the difference with the good gear. So there was the ghost car, and see now I take that corner much better because I let the car get stable, and I accelerate out of the corner, and this is where, if you look at sidekick, how, see, I'm continually going up because I came out of there balanced, and here is the world record. So if you feel like having a go at breaking the world record, now it's no lightning lap by any means, but I'll have a link to the cars in the description and give it a go. So this is Michael signing out for Single Racer. I'll catch you next time. I hope that helped. See you later.